afternoon, everyone, and a warm welcome to our fifth and very special episode of QuickBooks Labs. QuickBooks Labs, a fortnightly podcast designed to be the place to learn all about the world of QuickBooks and other accounting software. I'm one of your hosts, Aaron Patrick, a chartered accountant, QuickBooks Certified UK trainer, and an owner of an accounting firm called Boffix, and also that QuickBooks chap on YouTube. And joining me is my co-host, the one and only Ash. How you doing, Ash?
Great, thanks, Aaron. My name's Ash. I'm also an experienced bookkeeper / accountant. I've been training accountants and business owners on behalf of Intuit for the last since 2014, anyway, 6 years. Also happen to be sort of co-founder of NetTracker for fixed assets for QuickBooks Online.
Brilliant. Okay, fantastic. So how does this all work? I hear you all ask. Well, first of all, we are live to the nation. So if you are listening to us from any of the podcast services around the world, why not consider coming joining us live? So at the moment, we're live with members of the audience sat there waiting to ask some questions to us. So if you do have any questions for us, we're going to take questions towards the end of the show in our Q&A section. Before that, though, just remember that we have those podcasting services. So if podcasting is your preferred option, then please feel free to join in and go from there. Ash, what's the agenda for today's show?
So, Aaron, as usual, I'll cover a little bit of news, talk about a few new features that have popped into QuickBooks recently, and we're also joined with a very special guest, Carl from Datadear.
And speaking of Carl, let's bring Carl in just for the news section. So, hi, Carl. We'll ask you later for you to introduce yourself fully. So, with the news then, what I'm going to do is, in fact, let me just put this one up. Okay, then, with the news, what we're going to do is we're going to just have a look at what news has happened in the last 2 weeks. And then we're going to get you quickly into actually talking with Carl and showing what Carl is. So when it comes to news themselves, we'll actually see that there has been quite a few developments in QuickBooks. So since we last spoke, there's been a couple of updates. The first update that we're going to bring in is all about what's happened to the accountant side. So I know that a few of you listening here won't be able to get these particular updates, but for the accountants out there, these updates are quite useful. So the first thing is this view here won't mean too much to everyone, but this view here is an accountant only view. And you'll notice for the accountants out there, we now have this lead functionality down here. And the idea there is that all the different clients that we look after as accountants, we have the ability to assign which members of our team overall has responsibility for that client. So what that can be useful for is spreading out the work, making sure someone's responsible for it, and gives us an opportunity then to be able to look at clients and dish them out accordingly. So Ash, Carl, any kind of things on what you think to this little update? Nice small one there.
So from my point of view, so I don't know too much about this. I haven't had a sort of play around with it yet, but do you know, Aaron, so for that lead, for example, could I produce some reports that tells me how many jobs are outstanding against that manager or that lead?
Currently, the work option down in the left-hand side has no bearing on the lead status that we've got. The only bit that useful or it has been implemented so far is this brand new little filter button just here. So within the filter button, I can bring this and show which clients are against which people.
Okay, so it sounds like a bit of a work in progress from my point of view.
It's like a step in the right direction, though.
Yeah, I agree, Carl. It's definitely a step in the right direction, but it is one of those where I think a lot of the QBOA stuff is it's implemented and then worked on over time. So let's see. Let's give them the benefit.
I guess that could be pretty handy. So if you know that one of your, they call it lead, I'm going to call it manager. If you know that one of your client managers is on holiday and you can sort of filter that list by that manager, and there are a way you think, have I got any, possible VAT deadlines approaching or whatever it might be for any of those clients while they happen to be off. So that could be handy in that sense.
Yeah, I know also the bigger clients out there, so the bigger accounting firms, I know they were asking for this more for the billing side because then they could kind of split down which clients are which. take command of that from a billing point of view, and then they can do it from there. But yeah, it's a feature that is definitely useful for some circumstances. Now, when it comes to accountants, we have one more added feature as well. So I'm just going to jump into a client to have a look at it. And that will be in the accountant's toolbox. We now have what's called month-end review. And the idea of this from an accountant's point of view is to give us a way in which we can look at the data that either the client's done themselves or we've done on behalf of the client, and we can make sure it's correct. So if I click on the month-end review, it gives me an opportunity to basically tell me if it's spotted anything that may need to be looked at in a little bit more detail. So it's given me an option here of seeing if there's any uncategorized transactions, shall I say. So if you as the client or us as the accountant has had to put something into uncategorized expenses or uncategorized income, it will highlight that so that we can deal with them accordingly. And also it tells you if there's any transactions without any payees. I quite like that as well, because I think as an accountant, we try and encourage as much as possible to put a payee on near enough every transaction we can. When there isn't a transaction with a payee, it does sometimes make it more difficult for us as accountants to be able to make sure it's allocated to the right category and things like that. So it is useful to have them there. You can change this at the very top depending on which month you want to. And on the right-hand side, we get to do a little audit trail. Well, I say an audit trail. We get to pick what the status of that transaction is, and more on audit trail in a moment. Also, you'll notice towards the bottom, you get the option to add some additional items. So this is where you can be a little bit more creative. QuickBooks have already put these particular transactions in. So it's about looking at your personal transactions, looking at your loan, and these links here, you can customize to where they actually go to. So you can choose a custom report and you can get yourself over to them. And again, in the right-hand side, you have the chance to look at your status. So basically you can say if you've completed that task or you've not completed it. Then they have an accounts reconciliation view, which effectively looks at all your different bank accounts and balance sheet accounts and lets you know when they were last reconciled through to, and gives you the opportunity to basically bring them up and see if there's any items that weren't reconciled. And again, you get to look at additional items at the bottom. And on your final review tab, you get to put in some more drastic reports, if you like. So in here, we've got the balance sheet and the profit and loss. And you could really go to town in terms of being able to put some information in there in terms of what you would want your staff or you to look at on a month-by-month basis to make sure that tidy and clean. So, guys, what do you think to this little addition to QuickBooks?
Amazingly useful feature from me. I can definitely testify when I was in practice once that I'd had a client do all of his bookkeeping and everything was an uncategorized expense. I'm sure some other listeners may have had that too. And we're all around driving insights to business owners. So not having a payee is a big insight that you're going to be missing out there. So yeah, really helpful features on that part.
Nice one.
Yeah,
nice one.
I love it. So I had a quick look at it yesterday. I've not really played around with it and sort of built it up yet for the sort of one sort of business I sort of still help a little bit. But that regular review tool, so I've got some custom reports, you know, just very basic things like checking that the PAYE has been paid and some other little control accounts that I regularly reconcile, and they have a unreconciled status if there are any outstanding transactions, and having been able to directly go to those through that and having that checklist just to make sure that I have given it the once over and reviewed it is going to be pretty handy. The only thing I did, and I must put some feedback against it, is that I went straight to that transactions without a payee. And the first thing I wanted to do was sort it by amount. And that was the first thing that I couldn't do because I wanted to put all the higher values at the top because I wasn't that interested about things which are only 35 quid. But if something's about 20,000, is it just a journal that I'm happy with, or is it a large payment that's gone out and shouldn't have done? So that would be my only little feedback really on that.
That's a great add, and even to add like maybe an amount of materiality. Say if it's 100 quid or less, just don't bother me with it, that sort of thing.
Yeah, and I think in fact, that's a really good comment, Carl, because I've got a feeling in years ago, and one of the other trainers mentioned this yesterday when we were chatting about it, is that this tool actually pretty much similar in the desktop version, you know, 5 years ago. And I think there was actually a little filtering option in there that basically says, yeah, I'm not worried about any values less than, you know, 500 quid or whatever it might be.
Yeah, amazing. Great to see it all in one place. Sorry though, Aaron. Yeah, really good, because it's a process that you should be taking routinely, and you've always started around different bits of the system and never really had it clearly evidenced and clearly just that process thought out. So really good to see this improvement.
Yeah, completely. And for us as a practice, we've had to deal with this outside of QuickBooks since day one. So we've always had to use either third-party software or Excel or whatever we've been doing. Having it built in is a really good feature. But there's a few things here that definitely from the original concept is still not live yet. So I don't know if you guys saw the actual original concept back. It was America that did the they did in one of their QuickBooks Connect, they showcased this. They showcased it with a year-end review to go alongside the month-end review. So that's quite exciting. That's quite a nice little feature. And they also whole gamification of it all. So what I mean by that is they were going to score each client individually in terms of how they were doing and everything else. So there's still more to come here, which is exciting. And there's still more that we can kind of look at. One thing I did say in my kind of review on it on YouTube was that the one thing I'd love to see is the same features that we got in our Smart Scan. So if you look at the VAT Smart Scan facility, there's some items there like duplication of items and things like that. So it'd be nice if we could see them come in. But overall, I think it's a brilliant little bit there. And I think it's something that we can definitely use as building upon going forward.
Yeah. I just laughed to myself earlier. I love the idea about scoring your clients, because if you can give those guys a really low score, that means that next year they're going to be charged a lot more because of all the aggro they've given you. So I think that's a great one. Yeah, so we're either going to have to charge you more or you might need to move somewhere else.
It's definitely going with the ingredients there for being really helpful in pricing clients and knowing exactly the jobs that you're doing, how big the file is, how many transactions you're going to be looking after. So yeah, excited where that's going to head in the future.
Yeah,
definitely. Okay, so that's the end of the accountants only updates. Now the rest of these updates is for everyone. Now the first one I want to go and show you, and I've done a video on it, so I know it's definitely there, is a new feature in QuickBooks called Performance Center. So what you'll find is on the report section, notice how there's little chevrons here. You'll notice that when your file is live with this particular extra item of software, or this extra feature, let's say, you'll have one against your report section as well. And what will happen when you go in here is at the top, there'll be reports and there'll be Performance Center just here. Now, I don't know why, but it's suddenly disappeared. So it was on my file. Now it's not on my file. So I don't know if it's, accidentally got launched and it shouldn't have done or whatever it's going to be. But just so people can see it, here is a little sneak peek of what it looks like. So this is the same file only a couple of days ago. And you can see there was reports here and performance there. And the idea of this is that this whole area is about trying to visualize the data. So it's basically explaining how, from a client's point of view, although there's so many reports in QuickBooks, and we'll talk about reports a little bit more in a second, but although there's so many reports in QuickBooks, from a certain usability point of view, it can be quite daunting in how that works and what actually happens there. So here is a breakdown of what's called the Performance Center. And as you can see, it's a lot more of a visual basis in terms of what the data looks like. And it just makes it so much more appetizing to be able to talk about and explain about. And little things here like being able to see expenses against the previous year and stuff is going to give really meaningful information to clients and also to accountants to talk to clients about. What do you guys think of the Performance Center if it ever comes back again?
Good job. Video recording.
I'll let you go, Carl.
No, it looks amazing. I need to get my teeth into it to understand how flexible, how tailored you can make this for clients and how good of charting options and visualization options you've got. But hey, I'm all around getting insights into clients that they understand. Not everyone's a number person, so it looks phenomenal on the offset.
Yeah, the actual creating of charts, I've just put it on screen for you. The actual creating of charts is really powerful. So it's all about, your typical walking you through about creating a new chart and everything else. The one slight thing that we can't do at the moment, though, which is slightly frustrating, is you can't export it in any way whatsoever. So the data is sat there. Once you've saved a item to the dashboard, you do, if you can see here, oh, you can't see it there, but there is I think it's 25 dashboards you're allowed available. So you have got the opportunity to save it for a later date. There we are, up to 25 charts. So you can save it for a later date, but you have to you and your client will basically have to be this one screen to be able to see that data. What about you, Ash?
Yeah, I mean, I love it. And we looked at it yesterday, and I was going to look at it in the afternoon, and I didn't have it, so I didn't get to play around with it. But yeah, I do love the idea. And some people are picture people; they love to see a graph.
Exactly.
But I do think, as we said yesterday, we've missed, or Intuit have missed the trick at the moment by not being able just to plot that within a page on one of your reports, or put it to PDF, because sometimes not everyone wants to log straight into QuickBooks and look at things at the same time. They're happy just to be sent a report pack, and that's all they want to look at, because especially if it's the MD of a business, financial director, even one of the sales managers, they don't want to be looking at a screen sometimes. They just want to get an email. They want to open up a report and look at that. They don't want to go anywhere else.
Yeah, completely right. And when we do get the strength of those sort of reports and we have all that in the same time, I think it's really good. As an accountant, just so people who may or may not be aware, as accountants, we do have what's called business performance, which is quite similar in those sort of reports. But I think the performance center reports takes it one step further. I think it's a much more visually engaging reports. These reports definitely have their place, and they're something we've started to use quite well. And I love these metrics up here. But the fact that the client get access to Performance Center, the fact the client then can use it, I think could be quite powerful. And we spoke about it when we spoke about month-end reports of how important it is data is going to be going forward. And this is just proving it, that those sort of reports are going to make or break client decisions and what they're going to do next and how they're going to run their business. And the easier we can get that data to the client, the better. The next new feature, we've only got a couple more to go, is in the top left-hand corner under QuickBooks Labs. Great name there for a section on QuickBooks. I wonder where that came from. Within the QuickBooks Labs section, so people who don't know about QuickBooks Labs, but effectively it's a place where any new type of idea or anything they're trialing out into it, or anything that they're just kind of still not 100% sure on is fully working and fully baked out, if you like, they have the opportunity for you to opt into it early so you can test it out, give feedback and explain if how that process is going. And that's in what we call QuickBooks Labs. Now, QuickBooks Labs itself has had a brand new feature added here called Community Reports. And once you turn it on, effectively what it gives you is the option for a new functionality within the report section. So once you've turned the widget on, you then go over to Community Reports here, and it gives you a breakdown of all these different reports that the community has given. So the idea here is that basically it's saying that you as any person, any single person who wants to create a report, so if you jump into any custom report, you then now have the opportunity to, when you go to save that report, so if I come to save it up here, we now have the option to save that report with the community. So you click that button and it shares it. Once you share it, then any person within QuickBooks can then jump in the report section, community reports, and bring that report back. So the idea there is that you can quickly share really detailed and really useful reports that you can then either get access to yourself or maybe another client, or you're sharing it because you think it's so good the world needs to see this particular report. And in theory, that's a fantastic, fantastic idea. But guys, what do you think to the idea of community reports?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it is a great idea, I thought it's a fantastic idea, but there's just at the moment there's just too much in there. It's like doing a Google search and looking for the word bookkeeper and seeing you've got 50,000 results and just not knowing which one is going to be the best one to look at. So that's how it is a little bit at the moment. So I think there's a bit more filtering, perhaps different sort of genres of business types being able to filter will make it a bit easier to use.
Yeah, just to validate the idea, and we're actually running with a very similar idea at the moment. So of course, I think it's a brilliant idea, as it was one that I sort of created about 6 months ago. So it's grown from 142 reports when I checked in on this to 298, and that is, I think, to control it and potentially to smartly match the reports with people that are relevant, as Ash said, in industry, entity type, etc. And there's only so many P&Ls I want to look through before I'm happy, and I think there's too many there.
Yeah. I think, and region specific as well, because if you're looking for different sorts of VAT or GST tax type reports, then you're not interested in ones that are from Australia and Canada, because it can be no use to you whatsoever. So that's another sort of filter option then that really is needed there.
Definitely right. Definitely right. I mean, I love the idea, and I think we even came up with a few use cases that were brilliant. Like the idea that if you name this your practice, for example, and you're really savvy with the naming structure, then that's going to be a really quick way to spread those around your practice, because all it means then is you start typing in your practice name at the top, and up come reports that you would want to have throughout every client in your practice. So there's definitely a need for it to be available to every single person. But yeah, discoverability is the key here, isn't it? We've got to find a way of being able to make it so that the best reports, so the reports that Ash makes, for example, should be top of the list, because Ash loves his reports. It's one of his favorite pastimes of all is doing reports for QuickBooks. So those sort of reports should be top of the list. Whereas if someone's just trying out the system, or just having a little go at it and maybe even saved it by accident, those sort of reports, we don't need to be clogging up the system. And we're still in QuickBooks Labs here, so this isn't live yet. This is a solution that isn't readily available, and we're at 298 reports already. So when this does go live to everyone and it is fully within the solution, it's going to get even worse as time goes by. Okay, we've got two more little features and then off to the main part of the show. So the second feature that the next feature I want to talk about is iZettle. And just to basically let you all know that it's now live. So iZettle itself is a really good solution in terms of being able to do point of sale. So it's something that definitely for our practice, we highly recommend it. We think it's a really good piece of kit. And the idea is you can take an iPad or a phone or whatever you want to do, and you can use that as a till solution to be able to quickly take card payments and everything else that goes with a point of sale solution. The nice thing though is iZettle and QuickBooks have now come into a partnership, and with that partnership we now have an integration directly in. So what happens there is every time you make a sale on iZettle, you have the ability then to bring it directly into QuickBooks, which is going to be no errors. There's going to be no problems in terms of getting that data to and from, and it means your data is going to be much more up to date, and it just means you're going to have a better time in terms of making sure things are being recorded correctly. So I really do highly recommend, if you have got anything to do with EPOS solutions, or if you do use iZettle and you do use QuickBooks, do look at doing the integration. Now, one thing to note on the integration is it's all based, or it's all done, should I say, within the iZettle solution. So whereas other integrations have always been in QuickBooks and you connect it in QuickBooks, in this one, you need to go into iZettle itself, log yourself in, and then you'll be able to do it from there. Don't know if I haven't got a password here to be able to set it up, but you would be able to do it directly in there. If you are struggling with that, I have done a video on that before. So if you just Google iZettle QuickBooks, you'll see that video pops up and it just gives you step-by-steps how to connect it. We're doing to that one, lads.
Cool. So I'm guessing I'm not overly familiar with iZettle, but I'm guessing this is what's pretty much similar to PayPal. Am I right, Aaron? In that sort of, so do you always need to have a card reader of sorts, either from the phone or?
Yeah, there is two ways of using it. So this is the reader itself, and effectively you just Bluetooth this to your phone or to your tablet, whatever you want to, and then in the equipment itself, you have the option to actually just put a card directly in. So you can just put your card in, and then it's your PIN system, or it's all Apple Pay and everything else now. So you can pay by your watch and all sorts. So you can get it all paid right there. And effectively, like you said with PayPal, the payment comes in, it gets processed by iZettle, but it doesn't go into a PayPal account or anything. It goes directly into your account. So you can just wait until the transaction appears in QuickBooks and just deal it with there. But obviously there's fees and everything else involved. So the idea of having it integrated is all the fees and everything is going to be calculated and sorted out for you. So when that money hits the bank account, it'll automatically be processed and it will go against the right categories and everything else goes with it.
Okay, so things like when if I'm raising an invoice, do I still raise an invoice and and I'll have an option to mark as paid by iZettle, or?
Yeah, so it's not technically, I suppose I see what you're saying there. So it's not really designed for invoices as such, as a payment to an invoice. It is designed for retail environment where you are buying.
You sort of cash sales.
Yes. Yeah. You could do that, but it wouldn't be able to link with an invoice. You'd have to do some manual payment and being able to kind of do it from there. So
yeah, I get you. So when the money actually gets into the bank, you would sort of do one of those, adjust the transaction to adjust for your charges.
Yeah, definitely.
Can you control how much you push across? Could you do end of day takings, or is it transaction by transaction at the moment?
Yeah, so it's end of day that they come in. Each end of day there'll be one transaction that goes in, comes in as a journal, so it's really easy from an audit trail point of view to make sure that you're happy with the way it's going and everything else. And then once that data's in, it's good. But yeah, these sort of solutions have been around for a while, but normally you've had to rely on either a third-party solution, or if, I don't know if you heard of Square, they're quite similar. They had an option to do it, but it was a paid-for option, so you had to pay an additional tier to their solution. Whereas iZettle, you buy this piece of hardware, which again QuickBooks have got an offer on at the moment where you can buy this really cheap through them. Once you've bought the hardware, though, there's no additional fees on top of that other than the fee for taking the card transaction itself. So for companies like we deal with quite smaller entities, for them who are just need the solution as a backup or just for those one-offs or whatever it's going to be, it's a much better proposition than having to pay a monthly fee to have that solution. So that's what's really useful. And the fact that it just connects to your phone means, you know, festivals and things like that, you can be in a field and have the opportunity to take card payments, and if you're out and about, you have the opportunity to have card payments. So there's definitely a big sector for it and a big use case for it. And now we've got that integration. I think it's quite a nice little way of doing it.
Cool. What are the sort of percentage charges on those?
I didn't know all off by heart. I think it's 1.something%.
I'd expect you to know, Aaron. I saw yours on charge there, so you look like you're always taking money.
1.75. I knew it was 1.7.
Okay, so that's not bad. That's not bad.
Yeah, no, they're good. And I know they were talking about preferential treatments for the QuickBooks ones, but that didn't seem to have come in. At the moment, it's just the card reader itself preferential treatment in getting this cheap. So, but they only recently announced their PayPal preferential rates, haven't they? So, you know, who knows? There could be a better thing, because iZettle was bought out by PayPal, which is kind of where this came from.
Nice,
brilliant. All right, and then I've got one more piece, and then it's over to the main part of the show, and it's just a public service announcement, really. QuickBooks had the opportunity, or gave a new feature and functionality, should I say, for CIS. And basically, they've been updating their CIS functionality, and they now have the opportunity for you to link CIS directly with, you can post CIS directly to HMRC via QuickBooks, which is a feature you couldn't do before. You could record it all, and there was a whole CIS functionality for recording. But when it came to actually sending the information to HMRC, you would have to go to your HMRC portal, put the information in, and go from there. What QuickBooks have done now, though, is they've created this new functionality where we can go in and we now have the opportunity to be able to submit directly to HMRC within QuickBooks. Unfortunately, though, there's been an error issue somewhere, and they've had to suspend that functionality for now. And the reason they've suspended it is because there were some errors with the actual submission itself. So if you have been using that functionality, please, please, please contact the support team at QuickBooks, have a chat to them, because it may be that the wrong thing's been submitted. Now, for us, majority of our clients who have been using the functionality haven't been working due to COVID-19 and everything. So we kind of got away with it, but do keep an eye on that and do have a look at what has been submitted, just in case there's any errors there.
Yeah, that's right. Because as we understand it, it's not going to affect any nil value submissions. So only where you've got a value on there. So just check those out.
Yeah. So what we've heard or what we've seen is that the value has been overstated. So you won't get in trouble with HMRC, but at the end of the day, we don't want you paying over too much or anything like that.
Definitely not.
Fantastic. And with that, that is the end of the news section. And we're going to pass you over to the main part of the show, where Ash is going to interrogate, should I say, Carl.
I don't have a shining light to shine on the Carl.
This isn't how you pitched it to me, guys.
All right, Carl, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Before we get into Datadear, why don't you just give me a little bit of background on you? Tell me your life story in a few short sentences.
Yeah, of course. Well, thank you very much, first and foremost, Ash and Aaron, for having me. So my name's Carl Thompson. I'm the Global Partnerships Manager for Datadear and reside here in the UK. I've been in the accounting space for close to 10 years now, in numerous disguises, from sort of at the coalface in a practice, doing all of the client communications, to working alongside Ash actually in Intuit, supporting loads of great accounting partners, driving that cloud adoption. So my career paths are quite straightforward, really. I'm from a family of entrepreneurs, small family business. So with that, we've seen the highs and we've seen the lows. And I'm really out here to find a way to scale how we can help as many entrepreneurs just be confident in their business, in their data and what they're doing.
Cool, nice. So how did you get involved with Datadear then? How did that all come about?
So that really, having spent a lot of time in the industry and just constantly looking at further ways that we can really help out and drive. And coming from Intuit, I know that it's key to driving great insights to clients is getting them onto a good database. And QuickBooks is one of the best ones for that. And then it's how do we actually really take that? So now we've got loads of data, if we think it's doubling every couple of years. How do we get that into the insights to the end users, and especially within the SME marketplace, which I'm really passionate about? There was only really one answer for me, and that is Excel, sort of that unambiguous tool that everybody has on their machine or on a laptop somewhere. And if you can't find an integration between software they already have, I'm pretty confident you'll be able to find a way to export it as well.
No, absolutely bang on.
Led to Datadear to help sort of doing the stuff that I've been doing, just in another nature, and really coming onto the insights that comes from that data. Now we've got it there.
Cool. So more about then Datadear. So are you, tell us a bit about Datadear and, what is it all about? And are you able to sort of give us a couple of sort of demos within there?
Yeah, of course. So I've got a very quick presentation and a bit of a demo set up. If I just introduce it. So Datadear has been around now for 4 or 5 years. It's a tool built by an accountant for accountants and business users, but effectively an Excel add-in tool. So let me just jump over into this and start sharing across. And that should be loading up now. Perfect.
Cool.
Essentially, Datadear is an Excel add-in tool. Now, what we do is provide bi-directional access to your favorite cloud tools. So we're really providing a better connected experiences between your favorite applications, which are typically QuickBooks Online and Excel. So I think if there's an alternative, if ever you need to import data or export data for any reason, Datadear can probably automate that process for you, saving time and also add in some complementary parts to that. Now, when it comes to Excel, the challenge is that it's used for so many use cases. I think it's 550 million active users on a monthly basis currently. So really, when we're talking, we try to position these into different slots. I think, and actually I think it's very relevant I'm on here today based on the updates that provided from QuickBooks as well. Because I see the common theme really is data entry, data reconciliation, data insights. So getting it in, making sure it's in accurately, and then actually providing some insights based off what's there.
Yeah,
But when we're looking with accounting firms, we also think of a couple of other tasks. So really the preparing and sharing, I would say, covers that part. But onboarding, so setting up like chart of accounts for your clients, customers, tracking options, all of these parts, they're really list items that you may be migrating from one system to another, but a nice way of automating and moving them up. All the way to closing. So as businesses do sometimes cease to trade for whatever reason, they want to grab all of that data. So they've got a copy of it. Of course, Intuit keep hold of it for the legal amount of time, but they like to have it somewhere that they can see it, store it, and play with it if they want as well. So I guess that's a little bit. And what I'll be doing throughout the demo is coming into the world of sort of connected templates. So showing you that connected experience with Excel, talking to QuickBooks Online directly there. And I've just got a whole list in front of us, and the blue is Xero and the green is QuickBooks Online, just in case anyone's wondering why there's a couple of duplications on there. But these are essentially, it's pretty much any arm of the API that they let us connect into to upload data in. We'll find a way of doing that, along with reclassify transaction sort of behavior. So we can actually pull down what's already in QuickBooks Online database, edit it, and push it back in as well for like the reconciliation processes.
Yeah, that's the sort of stuff that I really like. Because I mean, yesterday, like at the moment, I do Sasant because that's what I'm used to using, but I'm keen on learning how it works with yours. I imported a load of 200 odd invoices with the wrong due date, so I needed to change that due date pretty quickly.
So these are perfect examples, and that's something it might be that you noticed at the reconciliation. You probably noticed just as you pressed import, actually, and yourself, Ash, but definitely one of those cases. And I can give you a quick flavour of how that would work as well.
Cool.
And on to the other side of things, so pulling the data out, and that's really onto reporting, insights, visuals, dashboards, whatever name sort of means something to you within there. And this is the workflow that we sort of work with a lot of accounting firms and end business users as well at the moment, in that do the work in QuickBooks, great. So automate that data out of QuickBooks into Excel, which then gives us limitless options. And Ash, you did touch upon earlier about some users, i.e. sales manager only wants to see set bits, doesn't want to be in QuickBooks. Maybe some other users just want a quick PDF. They just want to be able to open it there.
Yeah.
So really in this flow, we can appease all of these different users within a business, and also the accountant and their workflow and process of just reconciling and making sure everything is good before they release it. So just showing that in a bit more detail, I think I always like to show this because one of the main reasons Excel is used in an export nature is just personalization. So all I've done in here is added a simple trend line and added a bit of color, just because that is what brings that report to life to me. But that is, say 80% of users will probably be doing just a tiny bit of formatting when they're working with their data, so it's more readable for them. Coming into proper management report packs here. So we're looking at sort of summary P&L, more detailed P&L, balance sheet and cash flow, but really what you can build anything as long as you get access to the raw ingredients, the data, and that's what we're using. Through to, and not so many people, sort of the interactive dashboards, and you can do this in either Excel or Power BI. But these are the ones that you can have on your mobile phone, really be interrogating that data, analysing it, drilling through, and completely design this exactly how you want to see it, so it's relevant for you. And also, as we know, pulling in information that goes beyond the financials. And that's one thing we're very keen on, is actually bringing in management information into these reports as well. So we know the finances are very important. They can certainly give you a bit of an idea, but it's normally the management information that makes sense of the numbers, actually plays that picture out more so.
So being able to look at sort of those general, sort of those key performance indicators and that sort of thing to see different sales areas, pulling all that through. So
a couple of projects I've worked on recently, just where they wanted to look at like revenue per team member, as well. So easy sums that we can do as long as we've got that information held somewhere. Bringing in marketing information, so actually looking at their Google ad, their Facebook spend as well, their traction there and how that's playing out to their numbers, looking at trends in that sort of sense. As I say, it's looking at the actual stuff that is sort of driving the finances as well within there. And we're much more than just a software tool. So being an Excel add-in, we have a community of the widest experts around, from all the way from financial modelers to management accountants. It's just that go-to tool that's been around for, 30 odd years now, I believe. And just data's doubling as we're moving forward. I just don't see that changing within there. So we offer a lot of training in Excel, Power BI as well, and also Datadear. And we're also working with accountants to build out specific practice packs. So if they've got a niche of clients, perhaps it is construction industry that we've mentioned previously. If we want to build out a report pack that works for that industry, we can do so and easily just automate it and switch clients between them.
Yeah.
Perfect. So I think that's my little bit of an introduction to set the scene, because I'm not going to be able to show you everything that you can do with Excel and Datadear in the time that we have.
I'm sure it takes a little bit longer than 10 minutes. But if you can give us a bit of a flavour. So I mean, I've got a good flavour from what you've just gone through on the slides there. So with regards to sort of pulling up your own, very basic profit and loss report. So say, for example, at the moment, if I pulled up a P&L report from QuickBooks, it'll have pretty much what's there, but there'll be some little things that I might want to add in, like, the gross margin as a percentage. So off the top of my head, that doesn't appear as I need it to. So if I want to add in those, once I've pulled the data in, how much work is involved then to put in some of those just basic tweaks to what I've already got?
Yeah, of course. Well, I can show you that. Let's jump straight into the reporting then quickly. So let me just bring this across for us. So I always like to, before I jump in, just start on a blank sheet so it's not too scary. And really the only difference between my Excel and probably most of the listeners here today is that I've got Datadear installed here. So I've got an additional ribbon that allows me to connect into the cloud companies, so like my QuickBooks Online organizations. Also allows me to group these together. So if I needed to consolidate my businesses, or perhaps even aggregate, if I've got a business owner who looks after 3 businesses, they can be separate in nature, but really is net profit he'd like to see accumulated rather than just separate and adding up separately. So allows us to do this. And then once we've got that, we can get direct access into the companies and in from there. So I guess the question that you've really asked is, and if I play another recent one, hospitality businesses that we've been helping a lot recently, like wet and dry foods, and they're doing sort of different percentages there. There is a little bit involved. So we haven't built out a report design in that sense. We've built out data design. So how we grab the data and filter that down. Then it's how you want to incorporate. And it is really, we don't want to be too prescriptive with what we do. So we've always gone on, it's your data, it's how you want to see it. So if you want to see it in a more of a report format, so I'm just pulling out like a balance sheet here, and you can see what I've done is I'm on my practice. I've got the balance sheet out of all of the reports here. And the beautiful thing is I can just refresh this whenever I like, bringing in extra months as they roll through, and I can change clients very easily and refresh that for them as well. But actually, more often than not, what we'd want to do is really tweak these report designs and go a lot further than just this. And what I'll do in them instances is potentially get access to the source data. So QuickBooks do an amazing job of exposing the general ledger. So here I've got the general ledger, and again, I can easily just refresh this whenever I need to update it, change my clients if ever I want to tweak from that. But really what this is exposing is the raw ingredients, everything that I need to actually build out my report packs for clients.
So if you've set this up for one client, so let's say this is for client A, and then I want to use exactly that same template for client B, then it's pretty easy.
Absolutely.
Because
you can literally just come in, sort of refresh all sheets, change the clients across as much as you've got there, and just build it up.
Yeah, so that's nice, because if you have spent some time building exactly what you want for your industry specific clients, you haven't got to do it again. You haven't got to recreate the wheel. Just invest a little bit of time, because like with all tools, with all apps, people must sort of say their way out, put a bit, but once you've done it, then it's job done, and you don't have to do it again.
And you're also touching upon that other sort of the real inefficient use of Excel. And most people do. Excel is normally a manual playground for people to build, where it should be automatic. And I think of the instance where you sort of take data out, so maybe you're doing a management report pack in Excel currently, and just before you go to send them to a client, you think, oh, that's not right, and I need to update something in QuickBooks before I actually release this. So that would be them starting the process again, effectively export all of that manual manipulation, transposing, formatting that they've done to redo that essentially. Whereas with us, you just come and hit refresh. So actually, when you notice that transactions haven't been entered or need changing, it's a joy with Datadear, because you are just one click away from updating your report pack.
Yeah, nice.
Awesome. And then just an example of how I've really exposed that into a report pack, and haven't spent too long on this, but for the data geeks like myself, this is where you can properly start interrogating what these numbers are made up as. So you've seen here, because I've used the GL, I can expose my customers. So I can actually look at P&L for my customers and my suppliers and start filtering this down. I've exposed my location, so I can start looking at my locations as well. My classes, so I can start filtering this down. And I can apply these filters for each and above as well. And then, of course, the beautiful thing, I can always get into that makeup, what's making up those transactions. So I know all of this income had come from all of these invoices to these customers for these amounts. And I was going to say, this is just this is actually Excel-based reports that we're really into here, based on the Datadear feed from QuickBooks Online. And it gives me ultimate flexibility for how I want to present and change this.
Yeah, that's really nice.
Something to say there.
So it's pretty much instant filtering there, isn't it? Because you filtered it on the one screen, and as soon as you filtered it on that report, when you go to look at the detailed general ledger data behind it, it's then filtered from what you just looked at. Yeah, that's nice.
So yeah, that is the exact nature of sort of the pivot tables and how they drill through. So let me just sort that all out quickly. But you always get to that sort of makeup of the transaction. So really what this is summarizing that long list. So this is built completely off of this long list from the GL that I've got here.
Yeah.
So however many rows, which to be honest, I wouldn't present to a client in any way, shape or form, because it's just doesn't mean anything. But the insights that we can glean from that really can. And then the flexibility in terms of, so if they did want to see a P&L per customer and supplier, there it is. That's I've got my name, so I've got all of my fields that I can start pulling up on here, and so forth. And then taking that up a notch, because that's sort of getting into clients, we can also do this on a group basis. So here I've just pulled through a bit of a raw report style format for a group of companies. You can see that I've exposed the actual company name here. So they've got similar accounts, deliberately so.
Yeah.
So now I've built this into a group report. Let me just knock a couple of these off as well. And I'll just make this a little bit larger so everybody can see this on screen. And again, similar flexibility. So if I want to look at one company or the other, or if I want to look at both together, and if I want to drill down into that makeup and see where it's come from, I can do so as well. So it's really unlimited flexibility in terms of designing your report, just making sure that you build from the feed. So actually when I'm coming in here, I can again just hit refresh quick or change the group to another group of customers and everything can update.
So when you get started for the first time, so is that what, do you or someone in your team take something through the onboarding process to get them started, get their first report built? How does that work?
Yeah, so we've got loads of options available. We're aware that Excel is a little bit of that self-service business intelligence space, and a lot of users do just want to use it. They don't want to help. They just want to be able to use it in their sense as well. So of course that's available to them. But yes, if it is something that actually the knowledge, the training isn't there, we've got loads of options available, from me sort of coming on site and doing it on very project basis to even online based training, etc. and so on and so forth. And of course, we've got weekly webinars, demos, etc., helping people get to this. We've also run competitions before in the past where we've built this free of charge for people. So we've sort of said, let us know your challenge. Let us know what you're not solving or what data you're not getting the insights from. And we've run that as competition delivered free. And then we've got our expert community, and that's really there, as we do appreciate that business owners in some sense won't necessarily know how to build this, but they need the insights. And that's where we use these as sort of a third party just to really deliver that for our clients, and so that we can scale it globally as well with local legislation knowledge. So like in America, looking at 1099s and so on and so forth, which I had absolutely no idea about when I first started speaking with clients over there.
The first time I saw a 1099, the only thing that stuck into my head was thinking about an ice cream, but that's another story.
Jeez, you haven't bought one of them in a while. Like £2.50, aren't they?
So yeah, no, great. It looks really good, Carl. So if so, for people that are really interested in sort of learning more, so how do they learn more? Where's your website? Where do they sort of go to sort of inquire, sign up, learn more, and see what's what?
Great question, Ash. So it sounds like we'll be bringing you on board as well very shortly. The website's on the screen here. So we offer a free trial to users, 30 days without sort of anything. So come in, register for a free trial, add some information. You can actually single sign on as well. So you don't need to create another username and password. Single sign on, because we don't work with people unless you're already using QuickBooks or Xero. There's no benefit to our software at that stage, or unless Workflow Max and the direct HMRC parts. Yeah, come in, install the add-in. So if I just log in very quickly, just to show you that flow. And so I thought that might have forgotten that one. There we are. That should get me in. You can come in and start adding your connections. So from here, I can easily just connect to my companies, download the Excel add-in. And that is something that we will need to download and just install the environment. So when you come into Excel, you've got this same great toolbar that I've got up here as well. And essentially it's then ready. So whether you want to just start sort of playing with the data tables that are available, so exposing really what's in that database anywhere that it is in specific parts, or again into the reports. But I would say head over to the templates library too, because there is a lot of templates that are available. And this is, as I say, when it comes to getting data, our approach is slightly, so we're on a project as well to offer more of a prescribed approach in offering management report packs, offering cash flow solutions. But we don't like to be too prescriptive, because we do find that people should be able to tailor. They should be able to have whatever they want in any place they want, because it's their data. It's what they need to be able to read and understand to make decisions quickly with the right insights. But yeah, come in, check out the library as well, because there could be something in there, and definitely get started with the tour, because that will just get you used to using the toolbar, how you can pull on the data tables, etc., and so on and so forth. From there, the automation works well, and there's always an opportunity to jump on a 15-minute call with me, help me understand what you're trying to achieve, so I can try and help you get to the result that you're after. And yeah, for accounting practices that we're working with globally, there is an additional support service in that we are working to deliver sort of report packs that can go out to a massive amounts of clients. For instance, as you mentioned, like if there's specific verticals, niches that they're looking after, we can help build that for you as well.
No, it looks really good, because I know that you can never please everybody by building very rigid, specific reports. Because as soon as you do, someone will come along and say, well, can't I have that bit in? And then you've just spent hours.
That's what we love about
I sort of know a little bit from building our own app. You build one bit and then someone wants another little bit slotted in there and there. Unfortunately, we can't sort of let people just tweak ours, so it is what it is. But no, that's great.
That's where we come from, the raw data, because that's what we do, and delivering it with clients. We want their appetite to be whet. We want them to understand more and to be asking questions and seeing things in different ways, because that's really what engages people. And I do find engaging business owners onto the financial numbers and also other KPIs and metrics has to be done in a way that is to the business owners liking a lot of time, because P&Ls and balance sheets, yeah, they're great, but they don't make the most interesting reading, in all honesty. And it's really, are they getting the right insights from it too, or could it just be done in another way?
Well, thanks for that, Carl. Thanks very much for joining us. I think we'll see if we've got any Q&A available. Aaron, we got. Aaron, maybe. I'm sure Aaron will have got a question or two for you.
I certainly have. I mean, first of all, can I just say that I love the fact that you've got pivot tables working properly. That to me, that just breaks my heart. You know, that's exactly what I like to see. A good old pivot table being used to its full potential. You don't get to see that very often. So that alone, I think, is worth a subscription. If nothing else, is just the fact that someone who understands pivot tables. But yeah, I'm definitely going to be looking at it in more detail. So one of the things, though, just to kind of clarify, I was going to ask about group companies, but you've covered that one, so that's great, because that's definitely a use case we could see for that one. I assume wouldn't work beautifully on a Mac, though. I could make that assumption, or
it's a fairly safe assumption to make, unless you've already gone through the pain of having a bit of Windows software installed on your Mac, like any boot camp parallels. It won't at the moment, but we're in final release, so we're just waiting for. I know you are already, man. So we are in final release for Microsoft 365, Office 365, Excel Online, and it's been ready. We're just waiting for Microsoft to approve us, so we go onto their app space as well. So watch this space, Mac users. We'll be there for you very soon. And if not, I'm a huge Windows fan, so I can try and we won't have that debate today.
I have ways and means, but it's not always the most elegant. But that actually is quite useful, because my other question was, definitely in our practice, we rely on a lot of teams and a lot of synchronization between teams. So I assume, again, once the Office 365 is all connected and good to go, then that would be the solution there, wouldn't it, for that one?
Really depends on the nature that you're talking. So absolutely, but I do when it sounds more like visualization when you're sharing a lot of these parts as well. And Power BI is a superb tool for visualizing data. So that's already built in, and I'm just seeing if I can, within a couple of seconds, show you that how closely linked to Teams that is. Absolutely, I think I can here. So let me just come in and just blow it up on screen here. And effectively, I can just come in here, share to Teams, and it's ready. So anything that I'm building within this nature, I can share straight across. Whilst I have got it here, just to show you the sort of nature of this, how easy this is to design and build. So if I want to change anything across, click into the values, drill into the reports, etc., and so on and so forth. This is an absolutely amazing tool for that. And then really for designing into the mobile bases as well. So this is what I think is that. And we love the Excel approach of keeping the accountants happy. Excel is a great tool for really seeing all of your data in one place, getting it into a table, matrix view, and making sure it's all accurate and there's no missing gaps within there. And then that flow from there into Power BI is just as simple as coming in here and publish.
Yeah,
and we are actually working on building a Power BI connector. Sorry to go in there, but we are working on having a Power BI connector. Just if there is end users that don't want to check everything's okay, they're happy that's there, and they want to go straight to reporting, we're looking at that workflow as well.
Yeah, I think that would be quite useful, because I know, especially with us, we've started looking at things like dashboards and everything else that goes with it, and that's where you're singing the praises there, aren't you, with Power BI, and it works really well. But I think the only kind of reason I brought up the whole Teams element of it and how that would work is just because we use it to sync data between people, and now we're all remotely working, everything else. Yep. But again, I assume that once that Office 365 connection's all up and running, doesn't matter what computer you're moving it to, because it's all going to be based in the cloud effectively, isn't it? And it'll kind of work from there. So,
and I guess so, and with that, and on the Mac user as well, so it's really whoever's getting the data needs to be on a Windows at the moment, or have a Windows Excel environment installed. Then from sharing, you can share that with somebody on an Excel for Mac, absolutely fine. There's some limitations in terms of Excel functionality, but not many. The tables shouldn't be, and that's how I deliver 90% of my reports anyhow. So yeah, the sharing mechanism isn't always as much of a fear. It's just actually who's getting it, controlling it.
And if you are a Mac user out there, I recommend looking at a software solution called Shadow. So on Shadow, you basically get a full Windows environment for you to play around with. And with this whole with the Mac environment going to its own and going away from Intel, then the Shadow environment is going to be even more useful going forward to us. So highly recommend you have a look at that one. And then my final question for you, and this is only because a lot of the users, or a lot of the viewers, should I say, who take part in this are very much in the eBay lifestyle. So have you come across eBay management payments yet? And do you have a solution for getting that into QuickBooks?
Yeah, so Shopify, PayPal, even Izettle, all of these. So the data entry part, let me actually just blow up my screen if it's okay, very quickly again, jump on to show that sort of connected experience.
I think we'll just say we might be running over slightly. So for any users, anybody's that waiting for us to answer a question, we're running a little bit over, so we'll come to you as soon as we can. But we'll give Carl an extra 4 or 5 minutes because he's as he's come on with us today.
I shouldn't need 4 or 5, but thanks very much. You should have known inviting me on that. My time can go over. So what I've just blown on screen very quickly is just a journal entry template here that we have available for QuickBooks. Should look fairly similar in that the fields are pretty much what you'd need to do to perform a journal. Yeah. The difference is what we've done is validated this against the file. So the accounts I'm looking at are relevant for this practice, for this organization. Same with the customers, same with the vendors, so on and so forth. So actually, if I'm using this just pure for data entry, it's already a bit more, it's adding to robustness, the greatness of QuickBooks Online, in that I'm not going to be creating new accounts wildly and stuff like this. It's also given me a mechanism to say that I can build and automate models. So if I think a couple of routine processes, prepayments and accruals, checking if there's anything. So looking through the ledgers, should we be preparing or accruing anything, automating that. And you can automate all of this sheet with formulas as well. So it's just looking, transposing that data, and you're just ready to post, review and post effectively is how that's done. And then when it comes to posting, instead of saving this file down, potentially as a CSV and playing with those horrible old things, we can just literally drive that straight through the toolbar and post, giving it the ability to edit or not edit. And it's the not edit for the automation models that accountants will absolutely love.
Brilliant. Oh, that's brilliant. That'd be awesome. Okay, yeah, I'll definitely be looking at that one. So fantastic.
I'll give everyone 2 minutes back as well.
Brilliant. Okay, let's get on to the Q&A section then. Okay, so if you do have any final questions, please get them into the comment section and we will make sure we do our best to answer them. Just like Jack has, the legend that Jack from QuickBooks himself has come in and he's there. And then we've got Andrew from Money Mental UK. So the first question came in from Andrew itself and it says, can I claim for bike repairs as an expense? Which I'm not sure is quite a QuickBooks related question, but we'll answer it anyway. Basically, Andrew, it all depends on if you can justify your bike for your business needs and you've got the business use for it, then yes, go ahead and claim for it. But if you've got a half decent accountant, they'll be letting you know that one way or another.
I'm sure you can find a way.
So bike's an easy one.
To do this anyhow.
Exactly right. But bikes are an easy one to get through the business. Another question came in from James Harlow. In terms of monthly reconciliation, will QuickBooks have any other updates to facilitate this? So obviously from that monthly update that we've just had, is there any, we've not heard of anything else, have we? All we expect to happen is they're going to keep going on or keep adding to the monthly updates that we've seen already, haven't we? So the monthly reports and everything, we just expect them to add to that as we go along. Yeah,
and I guess it's a sort of an open-ended question there, and sort of almost fits in with what we were chatting with Carl about, is that so many businesses will have so many different types of things that they will or will not need to reconcile, that, you know, John down the road only needs to reconcile his bank account, yet the chemical factory up the road needs to reconcile 3 bank accounts, 20 credit cards, 3 prepayments and accruals accounts. So, you know, it's basic, that's putting your own process together. And you could do that within that monthly review by adding in your own processes.
Definitely. I mean, it's just going to get more and more important when we start looking at things like cash flow forecasts and everything else as that sort of functionality comes in the process. That
we're working towards real-time bookkeeping, aren't we? Really, and to get to real-time insights, we need to have that. So yeah, from what I saw there, I obviously don't know. I'm not a man in the know, but I'd love to see them work on that because that's got a lot of potential, hell of a lot of potential.
Definitely, 100%. So yeah, James, it looks like, well, watch this space. Basically, we've already got a great feature already in there. And we can only imagine that's going to get better over time. Next question from Kirsty Dixon asks, would you recommend keeping original copies of documents uploaded to QuickBooks? I heard I may have to keep records for so long for my year-end accounts, but not sure if an electronic copy would be okay. Ash?
Well, yes, I'd just say bin the lot once you've got them stored on a PDF. So you may want to, some people will sort of do a belt and braces approach, whereas they'll have them scanned, uploaded to QuickBooks or Xero, whatever their platform is. And in addition to that, they might also hold them in a folder on their PC. You don't have to keep the hard copies. People are trying to get paper free as much as you possibly can. So I would say get the shredder out, because that's what I do generally, and shred. Or don't even print off. Don't even print them if you can get away with it.
Save the planet, save your loft space, get it somewhere. Storage space doesn't cost a thing, and most of these companies, you don't even see the modularized cost to that anyhow. So it's one of those features that, if of concern, we can help you get attachments out as well, but QuickBooks should be exposing that to you in some way, shape or form.
Interesting tease there. I love it, Carl. Next question from Charlie. Hi, Charlie. How's it going? So do these reports only get added to the community if those choose to add them, or is it like a system that QBA initiated some years ago, and do they all get added automatically? I hope not. Well, good news for you, though, Charlie, is you do have to opt in for each of your reports you want to save. So I don't know if you remember, if I could quickly bring it up on stream, but basically when you go into any report possible and you want to save the customization, you have to opt in and you have to tick the box when you go to save reports for it to go through. So that's a good thing, because that gives you a chance to dictate which reports are going to go live. But again, back to what we said before, it does mean that there's a lot of reports for you to then go through as people start saving and sharing their reports to the community.
Yeah, I suppose what would be nice there, actually, without sort of dwelling on those reports too much, is that if a report isn't scored, let's say it's been up there for a few months and no one's given it a score, then it should just get deleted off there. That would Am I being harsh? But you don't want to be, because you need to do a bit of housekeeping. You don't want that filing cabinet full of tat. You want to get rid of a load.
When I come online in 4 weeks' time, crying because my reports have all been deleted. You know why? Ash's feature has gone live. Brilliant. Next question that comes through. Chrissy H asks, hey guys, I've just started out as a small business and bought a subscription to Xero. Would you recommend QuickBooks? I heard Xero has better app integration, but is more costly. Who wants to take that one?
I'll let you say that, Aaron.
Not a chance. Not a chance.
Shall I go ahead?
You go.
Volunteer the guest for this one. It depends what app integrations you're after. I mean, it's a very hard question to answer based on the information that you've got there. So whatever apps you're already using, do you need them integrated? Does data need to flow? If it does, do the integrations exist? They should be almost on a par. I think Xero's got around 1,000 apps in the marketplace. QuickBooks around 800, I think, at last count. But your core apps should be covered. And if not, speak to us. I'm sure we'll be able to find a way of building and automating whatever data you need to get in there in a nice way.
Definitely. I mean,
Team Green still a bit.
On a serious note on that one, I think for whatever reason, I think apps developers have found it more straightforward to get apps into Xero as opposed to QuickBooks. I think it's more the terminology and the way that they get access to the APIs and the SDK kits and all that lot. But you're right, most of them are on parity now. There's not many. From the accounting world, we have a lot of apps where they only connect with Xero. They've not quite got around to QuickBooks just yet. But from a client's point of view, you shouldn't have any issues whatsoever. You should find the bookkeeping solution that works best for you and works best for your business. And these days, as you've already said, from a feature parity point of view, very, very, very much the same. And then really, you've got to look at things like training and stuff like that. Where do you get the best sort of support from there? And you've got to look at the whole package. So that tends to be where QuickBooks beats everyone else.
And I guess, I mean, I'll put my hand up and say I've been, pro QuickBooks for years, but whether you're using QuickBooks or Xero, whatever you're using, what I would always say is that, I guess from the end user's point of view, if you are really happy using that software and it does for you what you want it to do, even though that software may cost you £30 a month and another software may cost you £15 a month, will that £15 a month you save by swapping actually save you £15 a month worth of time? Because by the time you've converted the data, by the time you've learned how to use it, you've probably spent a week of your life learning how to do something which you probably didn't need to do. So enjoy your life and try to make your life easier and not overcomplicate it. That's what I would say.
Completely agree. Okay, we've got one more. Well, it's not even a question, it's a statement here. So Andrew said, I've just moved to Xero, so thanks for the recommendation at the Aaron QuickBooks chat. And then, as he's a client, has asked that Buffett's will still buy my accountant, even though there's Xero. I don't think we're going to warrant that with an answer there on live on stream. I think that's something that I'll be having harsh words with later after the event. So with that, then, it's a massive thank you to Carl. I mean, Carl, it's been brilliant, absolutely brilliant, bringing your insight into it. It's just what our community definitely needed. And there's some I'm quite excited for what sort of opportunities that your software can bring. Ash, any final thoughts?
No, just going on to really repeating what you were saying there, Aaron. Yeah, thanks again, Carl, for coming on. Great to have you on. I'll be having a little play around with that. I don't need to do too much reporting myself, but I am interested in that, the creating, the modifying of data, so the exporting of the data, the re-importing of the data. They're things that I will definitely need to use now and again. So I'll find it out on the website, I'm sure, but is it subscription based or is it a one-off package? But I'm sure all the pricing's on your website.
Absolutely. All of the information's there, but we are a subscription-based business as well, connecting in. We want to be there regularly, routinely for you. So there's a support element and constant updates that need to be attached, because you've seen the updates that QuickBooks are delivering on a monthly basis, or even more often, and sometimes taken away. We need to be constantly looking at the APIs, what other parts we can get. So yeah, subscription based for a per company sort of base pricing on there as well.
Excellent.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you very much for inviting me on. Oh, sorry, Aaron. I've done this a few times. You'd have thought after 3 or 4 months of this, we'd have learned. But thank you very much for inviting me on. It's been a real pleasure. And thank you on behalf of the Datadear team as well for giving us a chance to let you know what we're about and how we're helping. And if it's of interest, if you think we can help you, find the website, sign up for a free trial. I'll be in touch. And yeah, make sure you reach out. Don't be a stranger.
Perfect. I was going to say, if you've got any plugs you want to make in terms of social channels or anything like that, then go right ahead. Sorry, that's jumping in. That was for me. I didn't catch a word of that. I said, if you've got any social channels you want to plug or anything for thing, go right ahead. That's no problem. Datadear app on Twitter, Datadear on LinkedIn. You've seen the website there. Come and find us. I say, I'm no stranger. I'll make sure I reach out to you as soon as you let us know you're there. Perfect. And a big thank you to the community as well and everyone who's got involved. So we've just had a great chat from Andrew. Thanks for sharing. So appreciate everyone who's put a question in and everyone who has watched today. Remember that we go live every 2 weeks. Ash, any more that you want to?
So when's our next one? So it'll be 2 weeks from now. Is that the 1st of September? Is it the 1st of September? I haven't got my calendar up, but I think it's the 18th today. So. Or is it the 2nd of September? So the 1st or 2nd of December, one thing I should have popped up straight away before we started, because I meant to write it down. Professionalism as always, I like it. Yeah. You're looking at us to help, and I think me and Aaron are loving this. It was the 1st of September. So I did the maths in my head. So yeah, it should be Tuesday, the 1st of September at 4 p.m, usual time, until we do until we decide to change it otherwise. Yeah,
No problem at all. Well, that's been thank you from me. Thank you to everyone. We've actually got a new outro now. So, you know, something for everyone to look forward to, a little treat for you all who've stayed till the very end. So with that, thank you very much. And we will see you next time. Cheers all.
Cheers, bye.
Cheers.